and welcome back to Call Me When They Kiss. I'm Issa.
And I'm Sydney.
Over the last 4 days, between TikTok and Instagram, Sydney and I have gained over 400 followers. So I'm hoping that is going to translate into some new listeners. So if this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much for being here. And we're so happy to have you here. Every Friday, Sydney and I discuss a different romance movie or TV series. And of course, romance is a wide spread for us. Last week we talked about Crazy Stupid Love, and today we're talking about Wuthering Heights, which probably shouldn't even be classified as a romance, but here we are. And our life has been consumed by Wuthering Heights, actually.
I mean, to be fair, we did say if there's kissing, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that's our
There
motto.
is kissing in this movie. But yeah, that is the hot topic of discussion for this. Is it a romance or not? And my understanding in the book romance world was that it had to have a happily ever after. And so I would not call this a romance. But
no.
Does it involve a love story of sorts? I also am not quite sure.
It's funny because, okay, so I guess we're diving in. Are we diving in?
Let's do it.
And you guys, okay, let me preface this whole episode by saying this. We have consumed so much Wuthering Heights content over the past 2 weeks. We've been seeing the discourse online about the new movie. It's seriously all over my For You page, everything. It's all I've been seeing. And
Yeah.
there was a couple days in there in the past 2 weeks where I was like, wow, I know everything about Wuthering Heights. But then the more I read and the more I saw and the more opinions and discourse and discussions, I know nothing.
And to give even more clarity, Issa has watched 12 versions of this movie in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
12 in 14 days.
Yes.
And she reread the book.
Yes.
So when she says we've been consuming so much, really, she's been consuming so much. I only watched the new version, and I'm sorry, I only watched 1992. I tried starting the book, and I gave up. But she fully committed to this. And so for her to say that she still has so much to learn, for me, blows my mind.
I'm just overwhelmed with Wuthering Heights information. I still have so many questions. I need to take a college class. I think that's the only way I could maybe be a little bit prepared. I feel like I need to read a biography of Emily Bronte.
Yeah. How about
which
this?
We confirmed it's Bronte, not Bronte.
Yeah. Yeah, I told her last time very confidently. I think it's Bronte. Now I don't even know.
Well,
Bronte.
People say Bronte all the time, but
yeah.
So I think it's fine. But according to my Google search, it's actually Bronte.
I Googled it too.
What were you going to say, though?
I was going to say that we should just go study abroad in England and go get a master's degree in English lit or something.
We should take a trip. I guess there's this thing called the Most Wuthering Heights Day Ever, and people dress up and get together and do the dance that Kate Bush does in the music video for Wuthering Heights.
Yeah.
So we need to add that to our bucket list. We need to attend the Most Wuthering Heights Day Ever.
I know. We talked about taking a trip to some sort of iconic movie location, but the more I've been consuming, which maybe it's just because it's been Bridgerton and then Wuthering Heights and all of this stuff, but I'm I think we need to go to Europe.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be satisfied by going to Santa Monica because they filmed some scene there, you know? We're gonna go full out and go have a Wuthering Day. We're gonna go to, what are they called? The Moors?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be so cool though.
That would be awesome. Okay, but to finish my preface, because I got sidetracked. So there's so many things we could discuss, and we're just gonna see where this conversation takes us. There's no way we can cover every single topic under the sun for Wuthering Heights. So if we miss anything that you really wanted us to talk about, just let us know. And we're gonna keep this to one episode, but we can always make more TikToks.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, and I would also like to say, if anyone has been consuming my Wuthering Heights content on TikTok and Instagram and is now listening, I've seriously had so much fun, talking to people in the comments. I've learned so much, not just about Wuthering Heights, but about film too. And so thank you guys for commenting, and thank you for your recommendations. I still have 3 other Wuthering Heights adaptations that I might watch, even though I've already watched 12. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun. even though I'm overwhelmed.
Well, and I'm really curious. I mean, I'm excited to discuss this with you because I'm not gonna lie, after watching the two, I was like, I think I've had enough of this story. I'm like, maybe I just don't like this story very much. But you were like loving it, and so I'm like, okay, I need to hear Issa's thoughts on this because I just cannot fathom watching this 12 times in a row.
Well, let me explain. Because somebody else commented and was like, "How are you not like I was depressed after one movie. How did you watch 12?" It's not that I like love it in the way that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I feel so inspired by this story and I just love these characters." Like, no, they're all detestable and it's not a fun story, but it's very fascinating and it's not even so much the story, but the history around it is so interesting and trying to figure out Emily Bronte and what she was thinking when she was writing this story. And then also the impact it's had on pop culture and society and the world and just like all the different adaptations throughout time and all the different romanticized versions of it. And it's just really fascinating. And all the different actors that have played Heathcliff, like there's some iconic people that have played Heathcliff, like Richard Burton and Charlton Heston and Voldemort. I keep just referring to him as Voldemort because I actually don't know how to say his name. What's his name?
I think it's like Ralph Phineas. I don't
But
even
that's
know.
the thing. It looks like Ralph, but I don't think it's Ralph. It's like Rafe or Raph or something.
Yeah. I don't even. I'm not even gonna try to like say names right anymore because after everything that we've discussed, I think every single episode there's somebody that we're like, how do we say this?
I know.
So if we butcher it, just forgive us.
And I found out I've been saying Emerald Fennell's name wrong. I thought it was Fennel, but it's Fennell, I think. Someone's gonna be like, no, it's not.
I can't remember either, and I just posted a video where
You said it both ways in one video. Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, I said it the first way, and then the second time I was like, I don't know, I guess I'll say it this way. I don't know these people.
I have a 50-50 shot. Yeah, that's funny.
And they're British. Like, I don't speak their dialect.
Yeah.
But now I've like lost where we're going. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, even like Tom Hardy, I'm not sure if I'd call him like an iconic choice, but like he's like a known actor, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like these random mystery people.
Right.
This has been quite the story. I mean, even the MTV version has like well-known names.
Yeah.
So.
Katherine Heigl. And then someone commented, I guess the guy that wrote the music for that one, he's actually famous. And now I'm forgetting his name and what other music he's written, but I did recognize some of the songs.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, if you know me and Issa, you know that we can go off on like Twilight and the cultural impact that it's had. But it was crazy to learn that Wuthering Heights even inspired Eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, like, it does show up more than I knew. Like, before this movie was announced, I didn't know anything about Wuthering Heights. And I didn't know that it was, like, one of the most read books. I think I even sent you a text that I was like, who's even read Wuthering Heights? And then, like, I kept seeing things about it that it's actually one of the most read books. I'm like, oh, I guess it's just me.
That's interesting.
But yeah, like, I had no idea the kind of, like, impact and the strong opinions that people would have on it.
Yeah. Well, that's what's funny too, like, because like we said, there's been a ton of discourse on this newest version, and I've seen all these TikToks of people being snarky and being like, all of a sudden, everybody has a PhD in English literature and everyone is reading classics. But that's the thing, like, even, I think, no matter how you feel about the 2026 version, which we are about to get into, I think it's really cool that so many people are now reading Wuthering Heights, and like for me, it's made me want to read more classics. Like I haven't read very many classics over the past couple years, so I think it's good because I think people should be reading more classics.
Exactly, and that people are trying to like understand the like deeper messages and themes in these stories. Like I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I saw probably a similar TikTok that it was like, okay, last week we had a literacy problem and this week all of a sudden everybody, you know, has majored in this. And I'm like, okay, but like why are we shaming people for trying to be literate?
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
just because we were all illiterate last week doesn't mean we should stay that way. Like,
Yeah.
if people want to, like, create discourse on this topic and, like, dive into it deeper and try to understand these themes and read more classics, like you said, like, that should never be, like, a bad thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you're all stupid and you should stay stupid? Like, why is that the message that we're that's being shared? And so yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I've listened to so many TikToks that are for and against like the newest version, and all
Right.
of them make points that I'm like, "Oh, that's really interesting."
Mhm.
Either side, But yeah, so that leads us to where you land on that spectrum. What did you think of this adaptation?
Well, it's funny that you ask where I land on the spectrum because I think if I had to put it in one sentence and say yes or no, I would say I didn't like it that much. But I also didn't hate it as much as I thought I would. So, yeah, I guess I have mixed feelings about it, but I lean more to, I didn't really like it.
What star rating did you give it?
Maybe like a 2.5.
Okay, I gave it a 2, but
Okay.
I gave 1992 a 2 as well. And I
Yeah.
know that that was the best out of the ones that you watched, but that's when I was like, maybe I just don't like this story. Because, like, even though it covered, like, the whole book versus this
Mhm.
one that only covered half the book, I think, like, the one word that came to my mind when watching both version is, "This is just a bizarre story."
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
Bizarre was the only word I could think of. I was like, "This is just bizarre."
Yeah.
Bizarre for different reasons, of course.
Right.
The
Well, and
2
I think that's
versions,
how
but
people felt when the book came out. They were like, "This is a crazy, horrible story," and it was published under a pen name, and they
yeah.
were like, "Who in the world would write such a horrible story?"
But the thing is, it's hard because the 2 sounds really bad, but it's not that they were bad movies. I mean, well, 1992 one, like, it wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, this is awful. I hate this movie." It's just, like, not the type of movie I like to spend my time watching.
Right.
But saying that, I view books completely differently. So, like, I do want to eventually, like, finish the book because some things just don't translate well onto screen.
Mhm.
And you can read something and appreciate it, and then at the end still be like, well, I never actually want to see that played out. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. That's
Like some
very
horror
much
books, you know? Like,
yeah.
I don't want to watch it, but, like, I could read it and, like, it's just a different medium, you know?
Yeah. That's very much how I felt about the 2011 version. Like, it made me realize how much the other adaptations glossed over a lot of, like, really horrible things that happen in the book. And yeah, like, I would never spend my time rewatching that movie.
Yeah, you're like, I don't need to see that.
But objectively, like, from a film perspective, like, there were good things about the movie.
2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I digress. We can focus on 2026.
Well, let's start with the good. We always say we'll start with the good, and then we very quickly
Yeah.
snowball into the bad. But what did you appreciate about it? I know that we made notes about. Actually, let's start with the actors.
Spit it out. No, just kidding.
I was
Start with
going
the
to, but then
actors?
I was like, I'm jumping ahead. Let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Let's start with like the casting, the cinematography, the music. We made notes of this. So, yeah, let's start with that.
Okay. So, like I said, I lean more to not liking it. I'm getting to the actors here. Like I said, I lean more to not really liking it, but I was surprised it was more Wuthering Heights than I expected it to be. But I think Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi were one of the reasons why I didn't really like it. Obviously, they're both very attractive, and I actually haven't seen Jacob Elordi. Like, I've never seen Euphoria. I need to watch Frankenstein, but I haven't watched that yet. Do you want to know the only thing I've seen? Yeah, that's
Is the kissing booth.
the kissing booth is the
Same.
only thing I've seen him in.
Same.
But obviously, he's hot, and I like Margot Robbie. But I didn't feel like I was watching Cathy and Heathcliff. I felt like I was watching Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. Like, they were distracting me the whole time.
It would have been very interesting to watch this with, like, 2 unknown actors.
Uh-huh.
Like, bring in 2 brand new people, like, would it have had the success that it had? Like, would people want to go and see it the same way? I don't know, but I felt the same way. And, like, Issa watched all these adaptations and then watched the newest one. I started with the newest one and then watched 1992, which then gave me, like, a more full idea of the story. And then I basically did a deep dive on what the book is about, even though I didn't actually read it. But, yeah, kind of similar to what you said. Like, once I watched the 1992 version, I was like, oh, there was more in common than I was expecting within that first half of 1992 and the new one. I was like, okay, like, I mean, yeah, it hits some key elements of the story, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, it still is a Wuthering Heights adaptation. I keep looking that word up. I'm like, is there a difference?
I actually
Adaptation?
Googled it. No, I think both words are fine, but it's funny. The reason I Googled it was because you always say adaptation and I always say adaptation.
I think I switch back and forth. It's like Fennell and Fennell. I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm saying.
But I Googled it and they both work. So we're good.
But yeah, I think that they were miscast for me because it's not even necessarily that I was seeing them for, like, them as the actors. It's just, like, they didn't make sense to me in this world that was being
No.
built.
Yeah.
Like, because like you just said, they're both very attractive.
Yeah.
I'm like, Margot Robbie looked that way. And you're telling me she's at the end of her spinsterhood or what, or like nearing spinsterhood or whatever her dad says, and that, like, she wouldn't go into town and every single man in that city want to marry her? Like,
did he say that in the movie?
Yeah.
Because she's only like 18 when she marries Edgar.
Yeah. So they said, like, somebody made a point. I watched the TikTok. I didn't hear it in the movie. I honestly, I kind of feel like I need to rewatch it.
I know, same.
But yeah, somebody made a TikTok about it because they said what the ages were supposed to be, but that, like, that line indicated that they did age her up, but aging her up didn't make sense because they live in this world that's like, that's a really good point that I heard. Most of what I'm going to be saying is not, is repeated off of what I heard. But in the opening scene at the hanging, it shows people making out, like, at the base of the guy getting hung, you know? It's, and everything that with the lower class people, like Joseph and that other girl, like, within the house, like, they're having sex and
Yeah, okay.
The other girl.
Yeah.
It's obviously this, like, there's just a lot of conflicting views because, like I said, Margot Robbie, gorgeous. Why would she be that old? And, like, 1, nobody tried to marry her. 2, never, like, explore that stuff with Heathcliff. Like, why would you be, like, even say 28 and, like, you've never experimented sexually before, like, with your servant boy? I don't know. Or, like, your best friend. I don't know.
In the world that this
in
movie
this
created.
world, yeah, exactly. Because, like, and especially because Heathcliff is lower class. Even Cathy is, you know, they're poor. They have nothing. Her dad's an alcoholic. Like, she's dirty. So, like, she doesn't even have, like, it seems like a lot of, like, social status or, like, this image. So, like, within that world that they built, why wouldn't these two have at least kissed or whatever? You know what I mean?
Sense. Well, and
so,
even
like,
beyond that, sorry, finish your thought.
Well, I was just going to say, like, but mostly I just felt like she was almost too beautiful for the role.
Yeah. And, like, she wasn't, it wasn't convincing to me when she, like Margot Robbie is 35 years old. And yeah, she is extremely beautiful and looks amazing. But, like, she's a woman. And, like, it just wasn't convincing to me when she's, like, losing her innocence, watching Joseph and that other maid or whatever, and she's, like, having this, like, sexual awakening with Heathcliff, like, covering her eyes. I'm like, I just am not buying it that this woman, this is her first encounter with sex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She doesn't look too old. We're not saying she looks too old.
No.
She just looks like a woman, and why is she just now experiencing all this?
I think I'm saying she is too old. Jacob Elordi, for that matter. I think they were both too old for Cathy and Heathcliff.
I'm honestly kind of shook that I found out I'm older than him. I don't know. That just makes me feel weird.
How old is he? Like 20? Isn't he 28?
He's 28. I'm not that much older than him. But no, I agree. And I think that, like, the ages, again, I'm talking as if I've read this book. I have not read this book. But I feel like these points hit like that much more when they're 18 years old.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like the Hunger Games. Like,
if this is your first time listening, we mention the Hunger Games in every episode.
But like if they cast actors that look too old, it loses the impact of what's being told, you know?
I think she just wanted, she being Emerald Fennell, she wanted the name of Wuthering Heights, and she wanted Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi just for the publicity of it all.
And she was just gonna make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so really quick, while we're on the topic of the casting and Jacob Elordi, obviously they whitewashed Heathcliff. And again, I just reread the book, and yes, his race is ambiguous, but it's not ambiguous that he is dark-skinned. Like, that is plain as day. It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Because I have seen people kind of acting like that.
I've seen that as well.
I don't know. And then, of course, they did cast people of color to play Edgar and Nellie, who were kind of villains of the story, which that's not inherently bad. Something I thought was weird, though, is like they cast a person of color. I think he's Pakistani, the actor that plays Edgar. In the book, Isabella is his sister. Then in the movie, they changed it. She was his ward. And that was kind of strange to me to make that change. And that the actress who played Isabella, who I really liked, by the way, like I feel like she stole every scene she was in. But that actress was in Saltburn. So to me, it felt like, and so was Jacob Elordi, of course. So that to me felt like Emerald Fennell, she just wanted to work with these same actors again and didn't care about like casting appropriate people for the characters.
She's like, we'll make it work. Rather than keeping them siblings and also casting like a Pakistani girl. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could discuss this all day and night, so.
Yeah. Interesting choices all around. Basically sums it up. But I know we wanted to talk about like the cinematography, the overall aesthetic, and like that is the positives that I took away from it. Like I'm not disputing the fact that people say it's like breathtaking, artistic, like that it had all these little details. Like I see those things. I just don't think that it makes up for the overall story.
Yeah, I know. I guess that's what I've been trying to decide. Like Sydney and I, we've had this conversation before. Like, we're not really like film critics. We like to talk about romance movies, and we more so discuss the content of the movies, not really the cinematography and stuff like that. So I guess for me personally, like, yeah, I can appreciate the amazing costumes and the artistic shots, but I think overall I value the storytelling more. And like, even for example, when Margot Robbie was walking across the moors in her wedding dress, like, yeah, that's a really beautiful artistic shot. And I've seen a lot of people being like, oh my gosh, like this was so insane. But in my mind, it kind of took me out of the story because it was not at all like, I get that it's an artistic choice, but when would anybody ever walk across the moor in a wedding dress like that? And again, it didn't feel like Cathy to me. It felt like Margot Robbie in a beautiful dress in this unrealistic landscape.
Yeah. I think that if they made like a flip book of like shots of the movie, I'd be like, wow, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you know, like with the costumes, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know anything about like fashion in other centuries, so like I'm not a stickler on that. I don't care if what they're wearing is historically accurate. But again, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying about Margot Robbie and how we're just seeing Margot Robbie. I see Margot Robbie and I see Barbie, and when I see Margot Robbie in these big over-the-top dresses, I see Barbie. Like when she walked in with that like cellophane, like first night of their wedding, pink sheerish, you know, like plasticky looking dress. And her hair was all down and blonde. I was just like, she looks like Barbie.
Yeah.
And that took me out of it in certain scenes too.
I saw that.
Sorry, you.
Oh, real quick about the cellophane dress. I saw that was supposed to, well, see, and then people have theories and they put together these like really deep meanings for these things. And it's like, I think it's really cool
But
that
was it?
people, yeah. Like, I think it's really cool that people can make those connections, but I guess we need Emerald Fennell to like walk us through like shot by shot what she was actually thinking. But I did think that this was an interesting connection. They said that the cellophane dress was representative of her virginity being like wrapped up like a present for Edgar. Anyway, sorry.
I
What
mean,
were you saying?
sure, I guess I know. Well, I was gonna say, like, there actually were a couple costumes that I did find distracting, and I couldn't, like, pinpoint, like, what it was about them until I saw, like, this comment that was like, why is she running around in a Scandinavian milkmaid dress?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, that's exactly what was off-putting. Like, yes, it
Yeah.
looked like a milkmaid dress. And like I said, I don't know anything about that era in the fashion, but like something about that look specifically was like, this doesn't look right
Yeah.
in this
Well, and
setting.
again, it's Margot Robbie. Like, she's not like a teenage milkmaid. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. They were really cool costumes, but they felt like costumes, not
Yeah.
like you are immersed in the world of Wuthering Heights, and this is
Yeah.
what Cathy and Heathcliff would wear, which again, not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how it was, I think.
I feel like, okay, this is kind of like a side note. I just made a video today on our Instagram talking about Twilight and how, like, I already liked the original movies so much. Of course, they were not, like, 100% book accurate, but, like, and clearly not with the outfits, thank goodness. But generally, they were a good adaptation of the books, you know? And, like, we got that. And I think that, at least for me, my issue that I was having with this Wuthering Heights, especially after watching the 1992 one, was that I'm all for some fun artistic version of something, but I think that people wanted a really good version of this one that was just like made you feel like you're in the moors, and that is Cathy and that is Heathcliff, you know? Because 1992 was still 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago. And like watching that one, like it wasn't bad, but it's not up to like today's filmmaking either, you know?
Right.
And so like my thoughts were, you know, there's a time and a place, but I think that people just wanted like there's 12 adaptions and none of them have been like perfect, you know? It would just be nice to see one good adaptation of this, and then sure, it's like do whatever you want because we have this one perfect adaptation.
Yeah.
Adaptation. Yeah, now I am saying adaptation. But like I don't feel like watching the 1992 version that like I got that, and then you watch this new one and I didn't get that either. And like there were really stunning scenes of like I know you had something to say about like the opening scene where it like pans over the moors and I think I'm gonna die in this house is playing and they're running. Like I was like, that looks so cool. Like I just would love to see something like with this current technology and still artistic and still like a beautiful film, but also like have it feel like a period piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. The only thing I'll add is like I guess serious Wuthering Heights fans want that, but I'm sure, I mean, Emerald Fennell, she has like a very distinct style and she, you know, likes to shock people, it seems like. This is literally the only movie of hers I've seen. So yeah, clearly Emerald Fennell is not the woman for the job, and that's fine. Like, she put her own spin on it. But yeah, I'm guessing there's not enough like diehard Wuthering Heights fans that anyone cares about making like the perfect Wuthering Heights adaptation. You know what I'm saying? Like it wouldn't like like they wanted to make money. And I mean, I'm sure Emerald Fennell, she clearly cares about like her art. But
yeah,
again, I don't think you cast Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie if you don't at least care a little bit about making money.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that, like, part of what's putting this at, like, a stark contrast is that I recently saw Hamnet. So both of these movies both are based on books. Both are based in an older time period, you know? And yes, I can say that Wuthering Heights was more, like, pleasing to the eye. Like, it is cool to look at those things. And, like, I've never read any of these books, so this has nothing to do with, like, the staying true to the story or anything like that. Both stories, though, the original stories, had like really impactful, deeper messages, and one was not lost in the adaptation, and one I feel like was.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is like, and Hamnet is like really like resonating with me. Like I'm like still thinking about that and like thinking
Mm-hmm.
of that like that painful story. It's like one that I don't necessarily even want to rewatch because like it hurt so much.
Mm-hmm.
But like Wuthering Heights, I feel like had the ability to do that, like to have people like sit with that discomfort and think of like what this story really means, and that's where it kind of missed the mark. And like no sort of like good soundtrack or aesthetically pleasing artistry of it all is going to like change a bad story that's being told. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like 50 years from now, will the dramatic shots of Margot Robbie in a wedding dress on the moor, will that like actually have lasting cultural impact? Or will the cultural impact just be the discourse that it created? And
Yeah.
then that begs the question like, is that what Emerald Fennell wants to be known for? Like
Exactly.
creating this like
Is she
rage
clickbaiting
baiting
us?
people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, because like it's working. Like,
Yeah.
so I didn't want to watch this movie. I literally wasn't planning to. And then like on Thursday when a group of people, so it was like opening night, group of people I knew was going, and that same exact day I was like, are there still seats near you? I'm gonna go. Like I
Yeah.
just caved because of the conversations that are happening, and I have FOMO. But like, yeah, like is that her intent? Was that her intent all along?
Yeah.
Because like you said, she wants to make money.
Which is fun. I mean, I want to make money too. In fact,
Yeah.
I would love if we could make money on this podcast.
I know. I know. Keep following us now.
Okay, I want to go back. Well, I have so many things.
It's so hard.
I don't want to get ahead, but I want to come back to, because you said something about it being a bad story.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to come back to like what you think specifically made it bad. But before we get to that, you mentioned the opening with I think I'm gonna die in this house. And that was that might have been my favorite part of the whole movie, because I think that, although I will say I didn't particularly like the Wuthering Heights design. It was kind of giving like Hunger Games cornucopia, like with the, I don't know if they were like rocks like sticking out.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like the act, like what the heights looked like.
Yeah,
physically.
like the house and like the rocks by it or whatever. Like, it was kind of looking too modern for me. Like I kind of like more of a creepy gothic version of Wuthering Heights, but obviously that's a different vibe and style than what Emerald Fennell was going for. But anyway, I did really like the shot of the moors and it panning up to Wuthering Heights. That's how, obviously this movie had a different opening scene, which we will come back to, but literally pretty much every single one of the 12 adaptations that I watched, they have the same opening shot. It's the moors and then Wuthering Heights. But I also really liked the use of I think I'm gonna die in this house, because I think that it showed, like, Emerald Fennell does understand Wuthering Heights. And I think, like, putting that song there demonstrated that, because Wuthering Heights and then the Linton's house, Thrushcross Grange, like, they're both very symbolic throughout the book and throughout every adaptation. And everybody does end up dying in one house or the other.
Yeah.
And, like, even though, I mean, there's so many different, like, symbols and things we could get into here, but, like, even though, like, Wuthering Heights represents kind of more hell and Thrushcross Grange represents heaven, like, Thrushcross Grange is where Cathy ends up dying. And, like, her heart yearns for Wuthering Heights, aka Heathcliff, you know what I mean? So anyway, I thought that was a cool use of that song. And I know some people had mixed feelings about the Charlie XCX soundtrack, and that was actually something I didn't really mind.
I didn't mind it either.
I thought it fit with the vibe of everything else she was doing. So
I really liked that scene. And actually, like, I liked a lot about the beginning. I liked the two young actors for Heathcliff and Cathy. I think that they did a really good job. That's one thing that I was going to say. Like, I think that this film did better, maybe, than the 1992 one, was just like establishing the why they have this sort of bond. Like, I felt like once it skipped forward to like the older age, I understood why they had this sort of emotionally like bonded type vibe. It was also a little bit weird though, because I was like, you guys are siblings.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's discussion about like if they literally are half siblings or not. But like even without that, like it just was like a weird concept to me to like have somebody that like becomes your brother that like you develop these feelings for. Like I just still thought that was kind of weird. But like I do think that they did a good job at like setting that up. And showing that sort of bond.
Well,
but
okay.
What?
Well, I agree. But also, I don't like that they cut out Cathy's brother, Hindley.
Yeah.
Because Hindley honestly abused Heathcliff even more than Mr. Earnshaw did. And not to get ahead, but I didn't really like how they flashed back to them as kids at the end of the movie. I think that overly romanticized it. And like, to give Emerald Fennell the benefit of the doubt, and I guess you could say like, well, they were innocent children, and because of the environment they grew up in and the abuse, like, they became these monsters.
I don't even think she painted them as monsters though. And I think that's kind of like part of the problem. It's like, I don't think there was anything that either one of them did that was like so, well, besides just like, I guess they had an affair, you know, but like,
which doesn't happen in the book.
Yeah. It just like, there wasn't, they took away a lot of Cathy's cruelty. They took away all of Heathcliff's like abusiveness. Like, he doesn't abuse anyone or anything in this story.
You think not even Isabella?
Was she abused?
Yeah, what do you think?
Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
I thought no. I thought that she liked that and was like consenting to it. I thought, because like that's why like Nellie was like, "Come on, let's go," and she's like, "I am home," wink. Like I thought like the letters they were writing was just like fake to try to get attention from them. Like, make it sound worse, make it sound worse, to try to like get a rise out of Edgar or Cathy. But no, like I didn't get the vibe that he was abusing her, or that anything that was happening was not consensual. What did you think?
Well, yeah, like I have mixed feelings. I keep saying that. I have mixed feelings about everything, you guys. I can't like make a black and white decision. Because I've seen like, oh, that was actually so progressive because Isabella consented to it and like she was empowered in that decision, whatever. But then I saw something else that was explaining like, no, actually it was still abuse. But now I can't remember
why,
what the other argument was. But no, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I interrupted a thought you were having. Oh, how they sanitized Heathcliff and Cathy.
Yeah. Yeah, just like, and so I couldn't tell if the intent, like not even just at the end, that romanticized it more, like was the intent the whole entire time to actually frame it as a love story, and a love story only.
It's funny because like
missed opportunity and missed timing, and technically in the Titanic they have an affair too, technically, even though he's a crazy guy. But like, I don't know, like ever since hearing her say that she wanted to make this our generation's Titanic, it's just like, it's hard for me to decide if she wanted this to be anything other than romantic.
Yeah. It's funny that you, like, they were still brats. Like,
oh yeah.
I thought they were still, well, and going back to the opening scene, I guess we haven't really touched on it yet, but like with the hanging, I thought that was representative of how cruel Cathy and Nellie are. Like, they were like delighting in that man being hung. So like there were still like hints of them being bad people, but even then I'm like, well, I guess that was more so Cathy. Like, where were the hints of Heathcliff being cruel?
Yeah, because like that childhood background, it showed Heathcliff as like courageous and loyal and willing to take hurt to protect Cathy. Like, there was nothing that was going to make him out to be a bad guy. In that bonding experience, you know? I mean, they were mean to each other, like, as the kids. Like, she was like, I'm not gonna teach you to read then. You could just stay dumb. You know, like, they were, like, kind of bratty, mean kids to each other, but then, like, still, like, obviously cared for each other deeply. But once they became adults, I didn't see, like, a lot of brattiness between them. There was, like, playfulness and, like, she
Well,
tried to
yeah,
build this, like, sexual tension, but, like, when I watched the 1992 one, I was like, oh, wow, these people are, like, bad to each other.
yeah, exactly. But she traded all that for them having a torrid affair.
Yeah. And it's just interesting what themes she chose to focus on. Because, like, what you were just saying about, like, the houses representing, like, heaven and hell, like, this could have just been, like, a really interesting movie that made you really, like, ponder and think on these things. And instead, I just, like, it got done and I was like, well, that was kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like going back to the casting, like casting a white person to play Heathcliff and then a brown person to play Edgar. And like I've seen, like people have asked Emerald Fennell like what her reasoning for that, and she's not even giving like interesting, thoughtful answers or like saying like, oh, I was trying to make this point or I was doing this. She was just like, well, that's how I imagined it in my head. And then the same thing
Yeah.
with all the sex stuff, like all the slime and the eggs and the snail and the bread. It's like, okay, you're alluding to sex, so what? Like, what's your point? Like, we get it. Slime is involved in sex. I don't feel like she was like, well, I don't feel like she was trying to say something interesting or smart.
Yeah.
Or
No,
maybe
I
I'm
agree.
just too dumb to know what it was.
Well, no, it's interesting for that because I saw this TikTok about a movie called The Age of Innocence, I think. I've never seen it. I have no idea what it's about, so I can't speak on that specific film. But somebody said Emerald Fennell needs to watch The Age of Innocence and learn the word of subtle. And it like shows all these clips from the movies of these like really subtle. I mean, it's kind of like Mr. Darcy's like hand flex. I almost think that these like subtle ways to build tension are more impactful than these really just like you were saying,
Yeah.
like the snails, the bread, the this, that, the her watching the people have sex. And
Yeah.
that's what's unlocking this within you with
Right.
Heathcliff, not like, I don't know, like there's a time and a
Subtle,
place for sex,
yeah.
sex. And then there's like a time to like build that tension that I think could have been done better, like in this more like subtle, overt way than like in your face. Did you know this is about sex?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Subtle is a good word of what she was. Yeah, like she was not subtle.
Yeah.
That's a good way of.
Okay, but talking about the sex and everything, well, not just the sex, but like the love story of it all. There's been this like sentiment that I've seen. Two things of it. One, like this one girl commented on a TikTok, random girl, but she said, it was so amazing. I had to sit in my car for 30 minutes afterwards. It made me believe in love again. And I
That's
was
crazy.
like, huh, okay. And then there's all the stuff that we saw of the now I'm like, should I say this on the podcast? But like the marketing for this was built up like it was gonna be explicit.
Yeah.
You know? And there were all sorts of jokes about like going to the theater and watching this explicit movie and that you were gonna be like so like aroused by this.
Yeah.
And that, like, obviously there were still, like, scenes that people were like, oh my gosh, that's so hot, that's so hot. And so, okay, this is, like, gonna be kind of like a deep dive conversation. Okay, so that's to preface it. Okay, the hanging scene at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So you said, like, that you thought it was, like, showing a little bit of, like, their cruelty, like Cathy's cruelty, and, like, how she, like, kind of was giggling and, like, taking pleasure in that. Did you take any other, like, thing away from that scene? Like, why start the movie with this, like, guy getting hung with like an outline of his erection and like did you think like what was the purpose of that?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna be honest. When I saw it, I was like, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
I had to look online and see what other people were saying. But this is one thing I've kind of come around on. Not that I liked the scene, but I have been like, okay, like I get it. Number one, yeah, it very quickly established Cathy is an evil little child. But she's had evil things done to her, okay? And then number two, I think like the fact that it started with you thinking it was a man having sex and then it was flipped to a man was being hung and dying, I think it showed, like, those are like the two major elements of the movie, sex and, like, death. Yeah. And so I think it very quickly established that.
Well, I
But what
saw
are your
this.
thoughts?
How many times am I going to say? I saw this TikTok, but I saw this TikTok
We
that was
actually don't
talking
think
about
for
it.
ourselves, you guys. We just
No, I
watch
really.
TikToks.
Yeah, I literally just wrote down, like, what was the point of that? And I never pondered it myself. But this TikTok was saying that it was actually, like, much more intentional and, like, you're all missing the point kind of thing of, like, you think it's going to be sex and everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's starting with sex. Here it comes. Emerald Fennell's like raunchy, whatever. And then he's being hung. And that, like, even while he's being hung, the little boys in the audience are like, oh, haha, like, look, he's got a stiffy. And everyone in this audience is reacting to his death in, like, different ways. But that, like, even in that moment of death, like, people were still focused on, like, the sex aspect. The audience,
Yeah.
us watching it, had sex in our mind. And even the little boy in the audience, like, in the movie watching it, had sex on his mind, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think, I'm not sure if they're giving Emerald Fennell more credit than is due, but they're like, she's doing this on purpose, like, in this obvious way, like, it's turning it back on you as a society, and that, like, you're all sex obsessed, and, like, that's what you're thinking in this movie of, like, tragedies or whatever, like, still all you can think about is the sex, and that, like, that was, like, her showing that, and, like, that, like, she's being like there was some sort of analogy of, like, the man being hung and, like, her, and, like, how everybody before the movie came out, like, wants to point her finger at her and say kind of the same thing, like, you're just, like, sex, you're just sex, whatever, but that there was more, and that, like, later when another person is being hung and they're like, oh, I thought you might be interested in who's being hung because it's a woman, and, like, how we as society are, like, hanging Emerald Fennell. Like, it was, like, this really deep thing, and I'm like, well, even if that were true, then wouldn't the majority of the people loving this movie be missing the point? If what they're walking away from is like, oh my gosh, that was so hot, that was such a good love story, this made me believe in love, this was so romantic, then, like, wouldn't they be like, I'm like, if that were true, then majority of the people that are like, oh my gosh, I love this, would be missing that point. But I don't even think that that was even intentional.
I think I saw that exact same TikTok and it really irked me.
I was like, I think you're giving her way too much credit.
Yeah, and, like, I think that would make sense if then throughout the movie, the rest of the movie, she wasn't, like we just talked about, if she wasn't so in your face with, like, the sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about, like, Cathy and Heathcliff having sex. I'm talking about, again, like, the slug.
Just the theme
and
of sex.
Yeah, and, like, I don't know.
I just felt like I walked away, like, there were more messages about sex than any sort of generational trauma or, like, the cycle of abuse, or, like, even, like, I do think that she made their relationship a lot less toxic. Was it not toxic at all? No, but, like, was it less toxic? Yes.
Yeah.
It did kind of frame it more as, like, this deep spiritual bond than, like, obsession. And I think that the 1992 version did a good job at showing more of just, like, the obsession side. Like, Voldemort. Like, that version of Heathcliff, like, his jealousy and his rage felt a lot less warranted. Like, that it felt more like possession, I think.
Yeah.
Than,
right.
like, than in this story. And there were things that movie did really well. So now I'm like, well, maybe I should actually give it more stars, because it does show, like, just did better, like, showing those themes. And there was a part where, or maybe it was this, I think it was in this movie, that Cathy dreamed, or was that a quote from the book? I don't even know. That she had a dream that she died or something and, like, woke up in heaven.
Yeah.
But that she, like, was in tears because all she could dream about was, like, being in,
Wuthering
like, hell.
Heights. Yeah.
And, like, things like that, like, oh, it's so intriguing. And I'm just like, enough with the slugs. Like, I just want to, like,
Yeah.
like.
Well, I'm glad you reminded me of this, because even Jacob Elordi at the end, see, I can't even call him Heathcliff, because in my mind, he's just Jacob Elordi. I'd sooner call him Nate from Euphoria, and I haven't even seen Euphoria. But, like, I one of my favorite parts of Wuthering Heights, even though it's really messed up, is Cathy has just died, and Heathcliff gives his really passionate, angry, scary monologue where he's like cursing Cathy, this woman he's supposed to love. Okay, he is cursing her. He does not want her to rest. He wants her to haunt him, and he's like mad at her. And I really love a good, angry, like Heathcliff. Like that quote is like really good, I think. And they like really softened Jacob Elordi's speech, and he's like crying and whispering it into Cathy's ear to make it more romantic and sad.
Yeah, like, come and haunt me. Stay with me forever.
But it's like,
not
no,
like
this
curse
is
you
messed
and
up. Yeah.
you shall have no rest. And
Yes. And from
Yeah.
there, he proceeds to torture Cathy's daughter and his own son and Hindley's son. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, after watching the 1992 version, I'm like, wow, like, the full impact of the story is actually in the second half.
right.
So that's why it's so interesting that all these adaptations, like, well, not all, but like most were just the first half. Because I feel like that's where, like, the whole point of the story is in the
Right.
second half.
Yeah.
And without that, yeah, it really loses it loses a lot of its impact. And I think that that's maybe when the romanticization of this story started happening, was maybe when the story started being told as only this first half. That, like, if you I mean, there's a lot of people that romanticize toxic relationships in a lot of films and movies, and myself included. When I was younger, I was watching Gossip Girl, and I was rooting for these couples that were, like, so bad for each other. And so, like, I wouldn't be surprised if people just saw the first half and thought, oh yeah, like, it's messy, but, like, it's still a love story.
Yeah.
The second half really, like, takes it to the next level,
Yeah.
though. And, like, shows the whole moral of the story, I kind of feel like, of, like,
Right.
breaking that cycle of abuse with Cathy Jr. and with Hindley?
Hindley's son, his name's Hareton.
Hareton. Yeah. It, like, really it shows that, and it does kind of end on this sort of better note, you know?
Yeah.
And showing that, like, you can have bad things happen to you and all these things and, like, still choose a different path. Honestly, this kind of felt like It Ends With Us 2.0. Because
That's a
people
wild
watched It
comparison.
Ends With Us, and people still got done with that movie and justified the abuse, or said maybe it's not real, or she could have fixed him, or no, like, but they loved each other so much. Like, people still watched that movie and finished it, like, not seeing whatever his freaking name is. I don't even remember. Like, still not even seeing him for what he was.
Ryle?
And that's how I feel. Yeah, Ryle. Like, that's how I feel finishing this movie. Like, when I hear people say, like, oh my gosh, I was so romantic, or I'm sobbing, they were so in love, or whatever, like, I didn't feel like it was romantic still. I felt like she was trying to make it romantic, but I still finished the movie feeling kind of disturbed.
Right. So I guess in
But-
that sense, she got it right, because I think that is how you should feel.
But that's what I can't tell. Like, I can't tell what her intent was. Like, am I feeling disturbed because of my own, like, personal biases and thoughts on, like, relationships, or did she think she was making it romantic? Because people do make toxic love stories they think are romantic also.
Yeah.
So, like,
no, yeah, and like you said, not everyone is leaving the theater feeling that the same way as you.
Yeah.
Which I
So I
truly
can't
don't
tell.
comprehend, the people that are like, that was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Even
I don't know.
it's funny that, and this isn't even the first adaptation to use the tagline, the greatest love story ever told. Like, I'm pretty sure other ones have used the exact same tagline. But today I posted a TikTok where I was talking about how there's actually a silent film that was made in 1920, and the tagline on that movie poster is, wait, let me pull it up. Here it is. Emily Bronte's tremendous story of hate. So it's just funny that in 1920 they nailed it, and then through the years, somehow that tagline has now become the opposite.
It really is a story of hate. Like, it starts with the abuse of Hindley and Mr. Earnshaw Did Mr. Earnshaw abuse him too in the book, or was it just Henley?
Mr. Earnshaw, in the book, he like really favors Heathcliff. And he didn't, I just read it and now I'm like, what happened? He like, I can't remember a specific time that he like abused Heathcliff, but just in general, he was like not a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think even if he wasn't specifically abusing Heathcliff, like obviously they were growing up in this toxic, unsafe household.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of like starts with that, and then it's like all spiraled, like how those actions can have consequences, and like there's just such a deeper message to it, I think. So do you feel like there were themes from the book that were carried over well into this movie? That like things they got right?
Themes? No, I don't think so. I don't think
And
so.
actually, this is
Unless
like
maybe they got right the theme of love will drive you crazy. Or,
yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, from what I've read of the book, and I mean, I guess it carried over certain elements, like he was abused. It does show that like toxic environments can lead to weird things, I guess. Yeah.
I think it did a good job of representing Cathy's unhappiness at Thrushcross Grange.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the book through like a feminist lens, like maybe like the expectations of women in society.
But even that, like, I didn't even totally get that vibe from it because, like, I knew that there were also things, yeah, about like women's autonomy and like how, like, back then you had to marry for certain reasons. And that's part of the reason why she couldn't or wouldn't marry Heathcliff. But even still, I kind of felt bad for Edgar. I liked Edgar.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were things that people were trying to point out that were like weird or scary about him or his home, like, oh, all the red and oh, it represents this or whatever. But I'm like, but I didn't see anything. Like, what I saw from him was that he genuinely loved her. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, since you've read the book, actually, this is a good discussion to have. So I know that there's a part at the end where, when she dies, Cathy has a locket that has Edgar's hair in it, but then like Heathcliff comes and like replaces it with his, but then like Nellie braids like entwines both. Is that true?
I think so.
And that like in the book, it actually represented more that like she could love both, that she did love both. Did you feel that in the book or no?
I didn't really feel like she loved Edgar, but I think she definitely liked him. She even said herself, like, when she's giving her speech to Nellie, which this might not have been in the 2026 movie, but like when she's telling Nellie that Edgar asked her to marry her, she's like, my love for Edgar is like the seasons, and I know it's going to change over time, but my love for Heathcliff is like the rocks underneath, and it's constant. And so, I mean, but at the end of the day, Cathy really only loves herself, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think that like that's where it goes to show, even with Heathcliff, of like cursing her, and like even in death he couldn't let her rest, and like and wanted that like vengeance even then. It shows the more selfish nature that they both had and showed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That like, yeah, if you truly love someone, would you do all of these things? Obviously not, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that was missed. What were the biggest things that you wish that you would have saw in the movie then? Ghosts?
Yeah, like if you're gonna make like a really extravagant, over the top Wuthering Heights with like crazy costumes and crazy sets with skin rooms and stuff, I think you should just go all in and have ghosts and have Heathcliff digging up her grave. Like I've seen some I've seen some very creepy scenes in 11 other adaptations of Heathcliff digging up her grave and like cradling her skeleton. And I heard people be like, well, she already did that in Saltburn, so she couldn't do it again. But she should have saved it then for this one. That's the thing, like, there's actually like a lot of really shocking elements of Wuthering Heights, the book. And so it's just interesting that Emerald Fennell, who I think likes to shock people, she left out a lot of the most shocking parts of the book.
Yeah. Well, even like the religious aspects were like completely left out of this. Do you think that that was because she was too scared to make it like, I know like a lot of people just would want to like stray away from anything religious altogether, but the 1992 version, any like the religious elements of it like just made it like that much more like eerie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, it just added another level of this sort of uncomfortable feeling because, like, it was this sort of, like, extreme mindset, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if she just, like, left it out to play it safe. Like, well, let's not even, like, bring up religion. Or do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think she was just too busy coming up with all the different ways she could represent. I don't even know. Semen discharge.
Yeah, the first
Like,
time he like plays with the egg yolk and you can tell he's like kind of turned on by it, I'm like, oh.
yeah, like I don't know when she would have had time to fit that in.
Yeah, no, that's true. And there were some cool, like, okay, the moment in the 1992 version where they're in the meadow and he's like playing some little tricks or whatever, and he says to her like, watch this, like, come and close your eyes, like if you open your eyes and see blue skies, like, so will your life be
Mm-hmm.
full of happiness or whatever. And if it's stormy and gray, so will your life be. And like she opens her eyes and she looks forward and it's like all blue skies, and then instantly like this cloud storm like starts rumbling in and starts raining. Those kinds of moments in 1992 like really like set this mood.
Mm-hmm.
That, like you said, like, there was no mood in this one other than, like, horniness. Um, and, like, I wanted to feel more of this, like, kind of creepy, like, I said it, I finished Disturbed, but it wasn't disturbed in, like, a creepy way. It was just like, oh, that was kind of disturbing. And I wanted to feel some of these things I felt in the 1992 one of, like, ooh, that's kind of crazy, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. Do you want to know something really weird that happens in the book that was not included in any adaptation?
Tell me.
I just thought of this because I was thinking of all the shocking things from the book that she could have put in the movie, which I 100% understand why nobody would be brave enough to include this. But Hindley, Cathy's brother, who's not even in the 2026 one, he,
I think I know this, but continue.
with his kid,
Yeah.
yeah, he like is drunk all the time. He's an alcoholic, kind of like that's what they ended up doing with Mr. Earnshaw in the 2026 movie. But he's like drunk and he is a bad dad. He's an abusive dad, and he holds Hareton, his son, like over a banister. And I don't think his original plan was to really drop him, but he was like threatening. And that's bad enough to like drop his kid over the banister. And Nellie's like trying to save him. And then like he does drop him, and Heathcliff just happens to walk underneath and he like catches Hareton. But he does it like instinctually, like, oh my gosh, something's falling, like I'll catch it.
Yeah.
And then Heathcliff is like mad at himself for because he hates Hindley and wants to get revenge on him. So he's like, oh dang it, I just saved my enemy's kid's life. And it's crazy on both parts, Hindley and Heathcliff.
Yeah. So that being said, obviously, like, that's a really good example of like showing Heathcliff's true nature that I don't think was like portrayed that way in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it's fair to call it an adaptation of Wuthering Heights? Like, do you care at all? Do you think it's like misleading to have it on the book covers? Because I know people have mentioned that. Like, if you're expecting one thing, do you think it sends a sort of message to like change somebody like that sort of into like this, what do they call it? There's like a phrase, it starts with a B, something hero.
Oh, a Byronic hero?
Yeah, like that she kind of like made him more like that. What are your thoughts on all of that?
I actually I don't super care. Like I said towards the beginning of the episode, I went into it expecting it to be nothing like Wuthering Heights, and so then I was, like, a little bit surprised, like, "Oh, yeah, I can tell that this is Wuthering Heights." So
Yeah.
maybe I just had such low expectations that it wasn't hard to exceed them. I think if anything, I kind of bugs me that she, like, wanted to use Wuthering Heights because I've heard people say, like, "Just make your own story."
Mm-hmm.
Be brave enough to, like, make your own story.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Hollywood likes to take chances and risks, and so I'm sure everybody involved liked having the name of Wuthering Heights on it, and, like, obviously it worked, it started a ton of discourse. So, like, I guess that kinda bugs me as someone that now, after watching 12 adaptations and reading the book, I do appreciate the story and
Mm-hmm.
like it as much as you
Yeah.
can like a horrible story like this. But at the end of the day, I'm not like outraged by the fact that she called it Wuthering Heights. Did that
I
answer your
mean,
question?
yeah, I think that yeah, like we need to clear it up. I didn't dislike this movie because it wasn't like the book.
Yeah.
I've never read the book. I've never
Yeah.
watched any other versions. So my like uncomfortable feelings walking away from the movie had nothing to do with anything else. It was just the movie itself. But, Saltburn was like critically a success. Like it was nominated for some awards and things like that. But like it wasn't a box office success. Like it didn't make a ton of money. And so a lot of people were like, well, she had to use Wuthering Heights because that's what like gets people to the theater and like watches the movies. Because when you do make your own creative story, nobody went and saw it. And I'm like, well, I didn't go and watch Saltburn because it wasn't an adaptation of a story I knew. I didn't go and watch it because it was just like too much for me, you know? So like maybe like the only reason that it's not making money is not because it's a new story, but maybe just like the content of that story people don't want to watch. And it's interesting because I actually saw a study that whatever this youngest generation is, I always forget what they're called.
Gen
Gen
Alpha.
Alpha. Um the study showed that they actually want to see less sex in media.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that too.
Um, and there was an interview with what's her name? She dated Harry Styles after she divorced Jason
Olivia
Sudeikis or whatever.
Wilde?
Olivia Wilde, yeah. It's an interview with her, and I think she kind of missed the point. I can't remember what she said. Like, I think she just said that, like, oh, I'm sure that they feel like it's too like scripted and they want to see things more authentic. But I think, I mean, at least like for me and like the media that I've been consuming, I just want to see more that like centers love. I like,
Mhm.
I do want a nice love story. And I think that certain elements just like change the tone, and like when sex is added into a film as like shock value versus like very intentional for a way to build the story or something. It's just different.
Mhm.
And I know that Saltburn had some things like that were very like shock value.
Mhm.
And I mean personally that's why like I didn't watch Saltburn. And so it's just interesting what people take away from certain things and like that her next move was okay, then I'll do what I want with this like beloved story instead and get people into the theater, instead of
Yeah.
like creating something that maybe would appeal to a broader audience. But yeah, there was one more thing also that I wanted to say about all this while we're on the topic. I took like so many screenshots and I'm not even going to share it. Okay. Enough. I mean, we love Bridgerton. We love Heated Rivalry. I don't have a problem with sex in media, but this was very interesting and why I think that her use of sex in this movie was an interesting choice because of what this says. So I'll just read it. Cathy is as hard, careless, and destructive as Heathcliff. She too has a sadistic nature. The love the two feel for each other is a longing for an impossible completion. Consolations do not appear. Nothing in the domestic or even in the sexual life seems to be the point in this book. She suggests that in that there is no possibility allowed for sexual or domestic fulfillment in this relationship, it drives inexplorably towards the mutual annihilation of the two principles amid the careless destruction of anyone else in their way. So, like, this absence of like any sort of completion or like sex or sexual fulfillment
Yeah.
or anything is like part of what is like driving them so
They're
like to
so
these
sexually
extremes.
frustrated that they
Basically,
torture
like they
everybody
long for
around
each
them.
other.
Yeah.
They long for each other in this like way that can never be and will never be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she could have like built a lot of sexual tension, and that them like never actually having that moment would have been like even more frustrating. Like we would have felt that too. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that frustrating, and honestly, make it, if she wanted to make a tragic love story, make it all that more tragic. That like, oh, Heathcliff's her love, the person she always wanted, and that they never even got to like experience that together.
Yeah.
I
didn't
just
think
thought
about
that was an interesting point that it made, that like that's what like drove them to this like extreme, and like destroying each other, is that like they never got to have any sort of relationship. And them
Yeah.
like having this affair in the movie completely changes like that tone.
That's a really good point. I hadn't even thought about that. I think partly why I didn't think about that was because most adaptations, not very many of them have sex. In fact, I think the only one that did was the Tom Hardy one. But most adaptations at least have them kiss at one point or the other.
Mhm.
But certainly none of them, they never have an affair.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. This one made it seem like that went on for quite a while.
I really had like no concept of time throughout this whole movie. I had no idea how much time was passing. But yeah.
It's
Did you
not
have
that much
any-
time. Edgar proposes to Cathy when she's 15, in the book at least. I know we talked about they must have been aged up in this one, but he proposes to her at 15. Heathcliff leaves for 3 years, which in this one I think they said 5 years.
Mhm.
And then Cathy's dead by 19.
Dang.
Yeah.
Like again, it just like it's Hunger Games, what we talked about. It really takes away the impact of this.
Yeah.
Like if we had seen like a 19-year-old wrapped up all in all of this, and like, I mean, she took away a lot of the death of a lot of the people, but like it really would have hit home as like, wow, this is like, I think it would have made it feel more like a tragedy that this poor girl was just 19. She had no choices. She didn't get to grow up. She didn't get to, you know.
Right.
And it's weird because they tried to paint it that way, like, oh, she still hadn't grown up or experienced anything. She's just 35. But
I think
okay, I haven't. What?
Well,
I was
you
gonna
go
say I had a
first.
question for you, but say
Okay.
what you want me to
Oh,
go.
me?
Yeah. Say what you were gonna say.
Well, one of the last things I wanted to mention was how they really villainized Nellie in the movie.
Okay, that's exactly what I was gonna ask you.
Oh,
Okay,
perfect.
so say what you were gonna say,
Okay.
and then I'll see if it leads the same.
Well, again, I think it added to the romanticization
Mm-hmm.
of Cathy and Heathcliff's relationship, because we had a villain. We could put the blame on someone besides Cathy and Heathcliff and be like, oh, this is a villain. And that was really interesting to me because none of the other 11 movies that I watched did that. Like Nellie they almost got it wrong in the opposite sense. Like I felt like the 2026 one villainized her too much, but then the other ones don't villainize her enough. But I saw the 2026 movie before I had reread the book, and now that I have reread it, I actually think that is something the 2026 version got right. Nellie she's like just as bad as the rest of them in the book. She still softened Cathy and Heathcliff too much, but I don't think she was like very far off from Nellie's character in the book. Does that make sense?
Yes. So my question is, because, okay, if you haven't read the book and you don't know, there's somebody named Mr. Lockwood who like shows up to Wuthering Heights, and Nellie is like recounting this story to him. So it's like a story within the story. And so people have brought up the fact that like Nellie, she's the one telling the story in the book Wuthering Heights. She's the narrator, which can make her a unreliable narrator because it's her version of the story that she's telling. But could it be that Emerald Fennell, could it be that she was creating this romanticized version that she thinks could be the real tragic love story, and that Nellie, the unreliable narrator in the book, was telling her versions of the account, like her version of what happened, making it more toxic or obsessive or extreme or any of these things to justify her wrongdoings and her role in Cathy's death? is that giving Emerald too much credit? Or do
Like
you
how
think like that
you're on a first
skipping
name basis with her.
Yeah, like is that giving her too much credit? Do you think that could have been a possible intent of like here's like the true story? The book was
Um,
just like a
I
wrong.
don't I don't think that one is giving her too much credit because she has said it's like what she wished would have happened. So, I don't know, maybe she wasn't specifically thinking about it that way, but it's like clearly like her teenage idealized version of it. But the
Because
Nellie
in the movie, sorry,
No, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say like she kind of did die because of Nellie in the movie.
Yeah.
And Nellie's like, you're so obsessed, you're so extreme, this isn't healthy. When in reality, like, none of that was happening because of Cathy's obsession. It was happening because she was sick, you know? Like in the movie. I mean, I guess, like, she started, like, she was laying in bed for a little while, you know? Like, trying to, you know what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
but like
But,
if
like,
like even in the 2026 movie, like if Kathy had the will to live, Nellie was not stopping her. Like I think she could have gotten help from somebody else if she wanted to. Don't you think? Just like how
I thought
Heathcliff
Nellie was keeping her, like, completely isolated. That, like, Nellie wasn't letting her leave. Like, Edgar was like, it's been too long, I want to see her. And that Nellie was telling him, no, you can't. Like, you need, you know, she's going to see you as weak. You need to stand your ground.
Yeah, but I still feel like Kathy could have like somehow gotten help. And like she
Yeah.
knew the baby died. I think she could have left her room. I think she knew enough about her condition before she was bedridden that she could have like left her room and gotten Edgar. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like how Heathcliff could have just ridden to the Grange
And gone
sooner
and
if he
saw
wanted
her.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like their own. It's just very self destructive. The whole.
Yeah. And like the unreliable narrator thing with Nellie is so confusing to me actually because it is like the general consensus that she is an unreliable narrator and it's like the general consensus that like we just don't know. Like so much of the book is purposely ambiguous, but it's still so confusing to me because I was like researching this, you know, before we started recording and somebody said that, like, in the 1800s, in the 19th century when this book was written, movies weren't a thing yet. So the concept of, like, an omniscient third person narrator that's just, like, a fly on the wall, knows everybody, knows the thoughts of each character, you know what I mean? That, that wasn't so much of a concept. And they specifically said, like, movies weren't invented, you know, when there's just a camera. Like telling you what you need to know. And it's the same thing like one of the only other like gothic fiction books I've read is Dracula and that story is like kind of told the same way. It's like through letters and like it's not just like an omniscient narrator. It's told through these characters. I'm getting lost in my own tangent. But in that case, I'm like, okay, so like, why is everybody so convinced Nellie's an unreliable narrator if she is just the vessel? Like, she is meant to be the third
That's just how
person.
stories were told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you were understanding my point.
Yeah, no, I was following.
But like, no, everybody says she's an unreliable narrator. And like, I get it. And I see, and as I'm reading the book, I'm like, yeah, she's like a bad person and she's lying. But then that's the other thing I'm confused about because she's like telling Lockwood that she lied. Like, she's not like hiding it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like,
she's
okay,
not trying to
so
paint herself to be an angel.
So I'm like, okay, so like, what is making her unreliable?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the same thing with like Akatar. Like people are like, no, Feyre's an unreliable narrator.
Oh my
Rhysand's
gosh.
actually evil, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like guys, that's how we read every story. Okay, somebody's got to narrate the story.
Right.
Somebody's got to be the person
from someone's perspective. Yeah.
They're not all hiding a big secret.
Right.
Yeah. No.
And in my
true.
mind, it's like, it's the story the author wants to tell.
Yeah, yeah.
They pick the perspective. People say that about Katniss too, and that one drives me nuts. But no, like I concede. The general consensus is Nellie is an unreliable narrator. I just don't fully understand it. So, I mean, if anyone out there listening can enlighten me, please do.
I guess I'll go with that narrative for the movie at least, because it's kind of the only way that I could make sense of why she would try to make this a romance. Like, why she would try to make this more of a love story. That's the only way that my head can, like, wrap wrap itself around an idea as like, okay, sure. I could understand if she's like, no, it is a love story. Nellie's the villain, and it's different from the book because she was unreliable. Like, sure, I can accept that if it makes it easier to digest this current movie.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to what we were saying before we started recording. Like, we need to know more about Emily Bronte. Like, how did she feel about feminism, racism, politics? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that would be an interesting way to analyze the book as well and the story.
What story was she trying to tell herself?
Right.
Other than our assumptions of it?
Right.
Yeah.
And I was reading that of the 3 Bronte sisters, we know the least about. Well, actually, there were more than 3, but three that survived to adulthood and that published books and poetry and stuff. We know the least about Emily. She was like very private, and like I don't know if it was her or Charlotte, but they like burned pretty much all of her letters and her like rough drafts of Wuthering Heights and stuff.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, she did die still young. I can't remember what age exactly.
I think she was like our age.
Yeah, she was, let's see. She
or maybe a little
died at 30 years old. And this is crazy, unrelated to the movie, crazy fun fact.
Hey, for the record, we're not 30 yet.
Not yet. This year I will be, but
Oh, really?
not yet. But she died while she was pregnant, and her baby died too.
Emily Bronte did?
Yeah. And it's said that, like, it was first noted, like, her cause of death was put as, like, the white plague or something like that, the white fever or something like that.
I swear I just read about her dying last night, and I don't remember her being pregnant or even ever being married.
Wait. Who was I reading? Was I reading about Charlotte?
Yeah, I don't think Emily...
Okay, wait. Okay, yes. Oh, sorry. I was reading about Charlotte. Okay, well, let me tell you, this is equally as crazy. Charlotte died when she was 38. What I was going to... Okay, yeah, they thought that it was some sort of fever, but biographers, like, studied more and found out that she actually died from extreme morning sickness.
Oh, yes. See, I did read that last night.
And that's, like, insane to me. That, like... And it's something that, like, I know, like, my friends have gotten that before. And that it just, like, makes me so sad. Like, think of women that are like, something now is like so treatable, but I'm like, what an awful way to die.
Yeah.
Excessive morning sickness.
Is it like because they
threw up and like, that's crazy.
Do you think it was like they didn't have the technology to keep her hydrated?
Probably. But also, like, they never, like, it's been in the past, I want to say 5 years, like 10 years would be generous, but it's been like recent years that they even discovered like what was causing that. What causes like that, I can't say the words, but what causes that like extreme morning sickness. They only
really?
just studied it and like figured out what caused it. So there was no treatment for, I mean, there were treatments for it in the way of like, yeah, you could stay better hydrated or like get nutrition a different way if that was happening to you. But they couldn't even treat it in the way of like, oh, we know what's causing this, so let's treat the root cause, because they never even studied it until like now. Women's health is just insane, which is why I went into public health. But yeah, I don't know how I ended up on Charlotte Bronte. I swear that I was searching about Emily Bronte, but I mean, looks like she's equally crazy because she died of tuberculosis after a long descent into alcoholism and drug addiction.
Emily?
Yeah. Oh, wait, no. What the heck? That was her brother. How many deaths?
Sydney's just spreading false information.
No, the brother
she died a few months
and drug addiction. She got TB from her brother.
Yeah. Which, speaking of her brother, you guys, I've been seeing so many wacky Wuthering Heights / Emily Bronte theories. Like, people were saying Emily had an incestuous relationship with her brother, and that inspired Cathy and Heathcliff. And then, like, I saw someone else on TikTok saying that they were like, it doesn't matter what race Heathcliff is because he's actually not even human. He's a fairy demon. Like,
I saw that. I was like, you sent it to me. In order to understand Wuthering Heights, you need to understand Norse
Celtic mythology.
Celtic mythology. Yeah, I was like, huh?
Yeah, I sent because me and Sydney like it's funny the things we send back and forth to each other, and we're like, oh, we should talk about this in the episode. But then we just like you just start talking, and there's not even enough. I can't even keep track of all my screenshots of like things I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about. But like I sent that one to Sydney about Heathcliff being a fae demon or whatever, and I was like, I really don't have time for this. Like, I do not have time to sort through this crazy theory.
Well, we're just gonna start our own rumors that Emily Bronte got tuberculosis because she was having an affair with her brother who had tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Who spiraled into drug and alcoholism because he had an incestuous affair with his sister.
Yeah.
That's
I know.
the
Well,
true
because
story.
like I read that she like died a few months after her brother, and it was like they were kind of making it seem like it was a combination of like yeah she got sick, but also like she was really devastated by the loss of her brother. So it's like are people just making up this incest theory because it said she was sad that her brother died? You know what I mean? Like where are people coming up with this? I guess I need to read a biography or something.
Interesting people. It's an interesting story all around. Book, interesting. 1992, interesting. 2026, very interesting.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Again, if this is your first time tuning in, I really hope we didn't let you down, and I hope you stick around. Next week, I think will be much more lighthearted. We are discussing Sandakin. Is that how you say it?
You know what? That one I've been hesitant to record a video on because I also need to look up how to say it.
Me and I this show has been out for a few weeks now, I think. So we're playing catch up, and like I've been so consumed with Wuthering Heights that I haven't even had Sandakin content show up on my For You page yet. So I'm sure once I start getting those types of videos, I'll figure out if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I did watch the first episode, and now I'm like, did they even say his name in the first episode? Or say
I don't think they did.
his name Sandakin is the name of
Sandakin.
the yeah.
Yeah, the pirate
But now
prince
I'm like,
or
I
whatever.
don't think they said his name. Anyway, I liked the first episode. I'm excited to keep watching. I've heard that the romance picks up towards the end of the season. That's what my mom said. But I felt like I should put that out there because if you're watching it and you're like, well, where's the romance? I thought this was for Call Me When They Kiss, a romance podcast. Just hold out.
I mean, I guess we've been asking for a slow burn. Subtlety.
Yeah, true.
So we're finally getting it.
So that episode comes out. Oh my gosh, Sydney.
We have to record it like soon.
No, we're supposed to put out an episode on Monday.
Oh my gosh.
You guys, our bonus book episode, our bonus episode is supposed to come out on Monday. That's February 3rd. And we're talking about Say Yes to the Marquess by Tessa Dare. It's like a bodice ripper Regency romance. Okay, well, don't worry, guys. We'll pull ourselves together. We're not going to let you down. Hopefully you've read Say Yes to the Marquess. I don't feel like we've been reminding people throughout the month to read that one.
That's true. This is our reminder. We'll remind you a little bit more, and then you can watch it a few days late if you need to. But I'm nervous. I'm still nervous.
For what? Like
for you to read the book.
For me to read
just your thoughts. So
well, I'll go start listening to it right now while we get some more work done.
Yeah, and we have like talked about making our book episodes a little bit like a deep dive into that genre itself. And so even if you haven't read the book, you can still come and like learn about it. And we usually try to like put in a little game. We did some trivia with romantasy. And so yeah, there's still some fun stuff even if you don't read the book. And I'm sure you just love to hear us yap, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
We always say we're going to end the episode and then we think of 10 more things to ramble on about.
That's us in a nutshell.
But I think we're done for real now. I think that's everything. Yeah. Thank you for listening. We will see you guys on Monday. That is 2 days or 3 days away from the time you hear this episode. So, yeah. See you guys on Monday.
Bye.
Bye.